Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head. The stars in the bright sky looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle are lowing, the poor baby wakes, but little Lord Jesus no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my side until morning is nigh. Be near me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay close by me forever, and love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and fit us for heaven to live with thee there.
Hello and welcome to this December 2020 special First Thursday recorded programme. We haven't met for some months now, which is very sad, but we may all hope that we will in fact be meeting in the not too distant future. However, for this special programme we open with the picture of the month, and I call upon Jill Curry.
Hello everybody. John has asked me to do picture of the month for December, so I thought I'd go for a seasonal card that I was asked to design by Sam from the Blue Coat Display Centre for this winter or Christmas's card for charity. That is, working in hospitals, in mental health centres, artists helping people in these situations to develop their skills and take their mind off other difficulties they're having at for the time being. So I decided to use the subject of a missel thrush. It was not only seasonal, but it's also found throughout Europe and North Africa and Asia, and also obviously in Britain. And I used the materials as a lino print, and this material is Japanese, and it can be used both sides, and this is cut with tools, well, Swiss cutting tools. These can be used for woodcut or for lino, and using them it is like cutting through butter, hence always keeping your hand behind this sharp tool for obvious reasons. So that, having placed the design, drawn the design on the lino, it is then cut out. And I used three different main colours, so pale blue and white, a cyan blue and white, then a sienna, then a burnt umber, and finally the red for the berries. So gradually the lino is cut away. Now, as well as using the lino and the wood cutting tools or lino cutting tools, you could use a printing ink that is water-based, this one, which is a German water-based ink, or a relief ink, which is oil-based, which is really the best to use. So just using this water-based ink here, I'll show you how the basic method is. So you use a Japanese roller, which is an absolute gem, very soft rubber. Then you roll the ink on, and then using a delicate, in this case, Japanese paper called masa, or you could use this circle German paper, which is lightweight, laying it on very carefully and using my favourite wooden spoon to actually pull the ink from the lino onto the paper. Hence, that is a start of the bird. So it all remains for me to say happy winter Christmas, and certainly a happy and healthy 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Most fascinating process to produce a Christmas card. Good luck with the sales. And now I call upon Kemal Houghton to provide us with the poem of the month. Kemal.
For the poem of the month, I've chosen Robert Louis Stevenson's Christmas at Sea. This is an unusually secular Christmas poem from this son of the family of lighthouse builders. Robert's parents were Presbyterians, and his maternal grandfather was a minister in the Church of Scotland. Yet at 19 he declared himself to be both a socialist and an atheist. This devastated his father, who said, "You have rendered my whole life a failure." Thus the storm in the poem is not just one of wind and rain, but it is also the sea of faith that we are familiar with from so many other poems of the period. It is a poem of separation, keenly felt, especially at Christmas time. And note the relationship between the narrator and the Coast Guard, whose lights shine out to sea, as did those within the towers that were built by Robert's family. Christmas at sea. The sheets were frozen hard and they cut the naked hand. The decks were like a slide where a seaman scarce could stand. The wind was a nor'wester blowing squally off the sea. The cliffs and spouting breakers were the only things alee. They heard the surf a-roaring before the break of day, but 'twas only with the peep of light we saw how ill we lay. We tumbled every hand on deck instanter with a shout, and we gave her the main topsail and stood by to go about. All day we tacked and tacked between the south head and the north. All day we hauled the frozen sheets and got no further forth. All day as cold as charity, in bitter pain and dread, for very life and nature we tacked from head to head. We gave the south a wider berth, for there the tide race roared, but every tack we made we brought the north head close aboard. So as we saw the cliffs and houses, and the breakers running high, and the Coast Guard in his garden, with his glass against his eye. The frost was on the village roofs, as white as ocean foam. The good red fires were burning bright in every longshore home. The windows sparkled clear, and the chimneys volleyed out, and I vow we sniffed the victuals as the vessel went about. The bells upon the church were rung with a mighty jovial cheer, for it's just that I should tell you how, of all days in the year, this day of our adversity was blessed Christmas morn. And the house above the Coast Guards was the house where I was born. Oh, well, I saw the pleasant room, the pleasant faces there, my mother's silver spectacles, my father's silver hair. And well, I saw the firelight, like a flight of homely elves, go dancing round the china plates that stand upon the shelves. And well, I knew the talk they had, the talk that was of me, of the shadow on the household and the sun that went to sea. And oh, the wicked fool I seemed in every kind of way to be here and hauling frozen ropes on blessed Christmas Day. They lit the high sea light and the dark began to fall. All hands to lose the topgallant sails, I heard the captain call. By the Lord, she'll never stand it, our first mate Jackson cried. It's the one way or the other, Mr. Jackson, he replied. She staggered to her bearings, but the sails were new and good, and the ship smelt up the windward, just as though she understood. As the winter's day was ending, in the entry of the night, we cleared the weary headland and passed below the light. And they heaved a mighty breath, every soul on board but me, as they saw her nose again, pointing handsome out to sea. But all that I could think of in the darkness and the cold was just that I was leaving home and my folks were growing old. One final note. Robert Louis did become reconciled with his family despite their differences of opinion.
Thanks to Kemal. And now I'm going to introduce Kemal Houghton, Alan Gaunt and John Oldershaw, along with myself, John Curry, in that order, to present the first poems that we are going to read, and these are our own choices for this time of year. Kemal.
Many of you watching this video will remember Sheila Parry. This is her poem, Nativity. Outside a cold wind blows its warning from a troubled world. But in 1,000 lighted halls, kings still process in stately crowns, yesterday's curtains, rich brocaded gowns. Barefoot shepherds carry lambs, crooks held askew in towel-striped arms, while tinselled angels, white and smiling, straighten halos, point to where a star is guiding. Blue-gowned and gliding, Mary walks with Joseph that well-travelled way to lay her much-loved baby doll in soft and fragrant hay. For this one shining hour we see our children in a Christmas light and carry their brief innocence like candles flickering in the bleak and bitter night.
I'm going to read a poem by Mary Oliver, American poet, born 1935, died 2019, about 3 months older than me. And in 2007 she was described as the best-selling poet in America. This is a Christmas poem. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Says a country legend told every year, go to the barn on Christmas Eve and see what the creatures do as that long night tips over. Down on their knees they will go, the fire of an old memory whistling through their minds. So I went. Wrapped to my eyes against the cold, I creaked back the barn door and peered in. From town the church bells spilled their midnight music, and the beasts listened. Yet they lay in their stalls like stone. Oh, the heretics! Not to remember Bethlehem, or the star as bright as a sun, or the child born on a bed of straw, to know only of the dissolving now. Still they drowsed on, citizens of the pure, the physical world. They loomed in the dark, powerful of body, peaceful of mind, innocent of history. Brothers, I whispered, it is Christmas, and you are no heretics, but a miracle, immaculate still as when you thundered forth on the morning of creation. As for Bethlehem, that blazing star still sailed the dark, but only looked for me. Caught in its light, listening again to its story, I curled against some sleepy beast who nuzzled my hair as though I were a child and warmed me the best it could all night.
I've chosen a poem by Waite Collective, one of her Christmas poem collection. Every year she would write a poem to put in her Christmas cards, and this is one of them. It's called BC AD. BC AD by Waite Collective. This was the moment when before turned into after, and the future's uninvented timekeepers presented arms. This was the moment when nothing happened, only dull peace sprawled boringly over the earth. This was the moment when even energetic Romans could find nothing better to do than counting heads in remote provinces. And this was the moment when a few farm workers and 3 members of an obscure Persian sect walked haphazard by starlight straight into the kingdom of heaven.
I have chosen for my choice here the poem which I chose for the poem of the week back in September, The Darkling Thrush by Thomas Hardy. The Darkling Thrush. I leant upon a coppice gate when frost was spectre grey and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted nigh had sought their household fires. The land's sharp features seemed to be the century's corpse outlent, his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. The ancient pulse of germ and birth was shrunken hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed favourless as I. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overhead, in a full-hearted evensong of joy illimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt and small, in blast-beruffled plumes, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good-night air some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware. Thank you for the poems, John, Kemal and Alan. And now it's my pleasure to call upon Waite Collective to provide our first musical interlude of this programme. Please.
Jesus Sahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya. Ona watewa tokian wanezwanata, Elisha squatrio no wanes rashata, Jesus Sahatonya, Ahatonya, Jesus Sahatonya, 아이오 기억나시로 해로non 영탁은 태탄 여신 사드하르non 와리온나와 그리티아노 생사준하러년 에이수사하토냐 아하토냐 에이수사하토냐
Chrétiens, prenez courage, Jésus sauveur est né. Du mal les ouvrages à jamais sont ruinés. Quand ils chantent merveille à ces troublants appas, ne prêtez plus l'oreille. Jésus est né, Jésus Hatonia. Voyez cette nouvelle dont un ange est porteur. Voyez âme fidèle et dilatez vos cœurs. La Vierge dans les tables entoure de ses bras l'enfant Dieu adorable. Jésus est né, Jésus Hatonia.
Let Christians then take heart today, the devil's rule is done. Let no man heed the devil more, for Jesus Christ is come. But hear ye all what angels sing, how merry may poor Jesus King. Jesus Hatonia, Jesus is born. Jesus Hatonia, Jesus Hatonia. 3 chieftains saw before Noel a star as bright as day. So fair a sign the chieftain said shall lead us where it may. For Jesus told the chieftains 3, the star will bring you here to me. Jesus Hatonia, Jesus is born. Jesus Hatonia, Jesus Hatonia, Jesus Hatonia, Jesus Hatonia.
Thank you, the Waite Collective, who are wonderful as always. And next we have the item from John Curry with an anthology of Christmas poetry.
Thanks, Kemal. If we winter this one out, we can summer anywhere. Seamus Heaney. The quote, oddly enough, is not a line of poetry, but is rather a quote from an interview which Heaney gave in 1972 and refers to the Troubles in Northern Ireland. However, it would appear that this line, according to some sources, has captured the public's mood and our need for hope in this time of collective anxiety. So, if we winter this one out, we can summer anywhere. My first choice for this short anthology is a poem by Gillian Clarke describing a Christmas winter scene. Snow by Gillian Clarke. The dreamed Christmas flakes shaken out of silences so far and starry. We can't sleep for listening, for papery rustles out there in the night, and wake to find our ceiling glimmering, the day a sultry of light. So we're out over the snowfields before it's all seen off with a salt lick of Atlantic air, then home at dusk, snowblind, from following chains of fox and crow and hare, to a fire, a roasting bird, a ringing phone, and voices wondering where we are. A day foretold by images of glassy pond, peasant and snowy roof over the Holy Child iconed in gold. Or women shawled against the goose-down air, pleading with soldiers at a shifting frontier in the snows of television. While in the secret dark a fresh snow falls, filling our tracks with stars. My second choice is a poem by Thomas Transnurmer, a Swedish poet, well used to snow and harsh winters. But this poem, for me, has in addition elements of both dreams and the surreal, ending with a hint of the importance of keeping going for that future tomorrow. Winter's Formulae by Thomas Transnurmer. I fell asleep in my bed and woke up under the keel at 4 o'clock in the morning, when life's clean picked bones coldly associate with each other. I fell asleep among the swallows and woke up among the eagles. In the lamplight, the ice on the road is gleaming like lard. This is not Africa. This is not Europe. This is nowhere other than here. And that which was I is only a word in the December's dark mouth. The Institute pavilions displayed in the dark shine like TV screens. A hidden tuning fork in the great cold sends out its tone. I stand under the starry sky and feel the world creep in and out of my coat as in an anthill. 3 dark oaks sticking out of the snow, so gross but nimble-fingered. Out of the giant bottles the greenery will bubble in spring. The bus crawls through the winter evening. It glimmers like a ship in the spruce forest, where the road it is a narrow, deep, dead canal. Few passengers, some old and some very young. If it stopped and quenched the lights, the world would be deleted. From John Clare's jottings. Never a leisure hour passed me without making use of it. Every winter's night, our once unlettered hut was wonderfully changed in its appearance to a schoolroom. The old table, which old as it was, doubtless never was honoured with higher employment all its days than the convenience of bearing at mealtimes the luxury of a barley loaf or dish of potatoes, was now covered with the rude beginnings of scientific requisitions, pens, ink and paper, jobbling the pen at sheep hooks and tar bottles, and another trying on a slate a question of poetry. Snowstorm 2 by John Clare. Winter is come in earnest, and the snow in dazzling splendour, crumping underfoot, spreads a white world all calm, and where we go, by hedge or wood trees shine from top to foot in feathered foliage, flashing light and shade of strangest contrast. Fancy's pliant eye delighted, sees a vast romance displayed, and fairy halls descended from the sky. The smallest twig its snowy burthen wears, and woods o'erhead the dullest eyes engage, to shape strange things, where arch and pillar bears a roof of grains, fantastic arched and high, and little shed beside the spinney wears the grotesque semblance of an hermitage. My final choice is a poem by Jackie Kay, which captures the mood of the early days of January, moving on then from Christmas and on towards that hoped-for summer referred to in those words of Seamus Heaney, which forms the title of this short anthology. The Promise, Jackie Kay. Remember the time of year when the future appears like a blank sheet of paper, clean calendar, a new chance on thick white snow. You vow fresh footprints, then watch them go with a wind's hearty gust. Fill your glass, here's to us! Promises made to be broken, made to last. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for that collection of Christmas poetry. And now we've returned once again to the Waite Collective.
Oh, poor little Jesus, this world gonna break your heart. There'll be no place to lay your head, my Lord. Oh, poor little Jesus. Oh, Mary the mother, oh, Mary, she bowed down and cried. There'll be no place to lay his head, my Lord. Oh, poor little Jesus. Come down, all you holy angels, sing round him with your golden harps, for someday he will die to save this world. Oh, poor little Jesus. Oh, poor little Jesus, this world gonna break your heart. There'll be no place to lay your head, my Lord. Oh, poor little Jesus.
Thanks again to Waite Collective for the music. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the same four poets in the same order to read their own poems. We start with Kemal.
This is the penultimate poem in my Red Squirrel pamphlet, and being a Christmas poem, I get a chance to read it once a year. Doing the Cards. I am become my mother, surrounded by heaps of cards and lists of names, a personal who's who and who is not. The faces time remembered, time forgot. People not spoken to in decades, a litany of broken promises to call. Accusingly, the lists begin to pall. As now the pages fill with scratchings out, loved ones whose time will not return again. Next year I'll flick a switch, print the addresses out, then stamp each Christmas card with both our names.
I'm offering my reading this evening for Pauline Wright, who some of you may not know by name, but she has been for a year or so collecting the money at the beginning of First Thursday, and she died quite suddenly and tragically, and I'm struggling to get over it. So this is all in memory of her. And my own poem that I'm reading, every Christmas I find a picture from somewhere and write a poem that goes with it for the Christmas card. And this one is based on the statue, a metal statue which some of you may have seen in Birkenhead Park, called High Hopes. This is only half of it because it's got the whole length of the mother holding up her child who's got his arms outstretched. And so this poem was written for the Christmas card, and I cannot write sentimental poems for Christmas. So this is the poem. The mother lifts her child towards the sky and holds him up as though he might take flight, completing all her highest hopes for him, fulfilling all her motherhood's delight. And as she holds him high above her head, he lifts and stretches his small arms out wide, as though to give his blessing to her love and set his seal on her maternal pride. And might she see his arms stretched out again, as though spread wide in anguish on a cross, as she stands weeping, watching helplessly, and grieves, bereft of hope, her dreadful loss. Suspicion, hatred, pride kill innocence, and tribal conflict builds dividing walls. But though divided, some stretch out their arms and reach to answer love's neglected calls. They dare to hope for the impossible, the longed-for end of war and violence. They trust, as love's high hope is lifted up, the boundless power of helpless innocence.
This is one of my poems. It was part of an Advent sequence, and this part is called Community Advent. The angels sing, the shepherds flock, the wise men journey, the innkeeper welcomes, the parents smile. Mary and Joseph hold hands. In our nativity play, there is no place for soldiers and tyrants, wheeler-dealers and bullies, no scene where the powerful massacre. All is safe in serious fun, and everyone has a part to play, if only behind masks of benign donkeys and camels. This rite of passage, a child's first nativity play, it echoes our family's stories, where grandparents sing, friends flock, families journey. We give the story our heart, sentimentality, its power. Mary and Joseph hold hands.
For my choice of poem, I've chosen one which I wrote fairly early on, and then I found myself having to add lines because of the length of time that the lockdown has taken. Passing time. Through the spring, summer, autumn and winter, during this, the strangest of years, I am simply passing time. Walking south on an empty beach, waders' cries, plaintive, haunting trills echo across the vast expanse of the low water estuary to the hills beyond, over to the west. Passing time, soft, tide-soaked sand in waves, seaweed, wrack and broken shells crunch underfoot, calm over a windless rock pool, a stillness, passing time. Time will pass, sometimes more slowly than at other times, but it will pass, passing time. Another tide will flood in the fullness of time, bringing fresh hope and life to the earth. Meantime, it's just a matter of passing time. Before inviting Waite Collective to sing us out, I'd like to say thanks for the poems. And I'd also like to thank everyone for their participation. I'd also like to thank Kemal for having put this programme together, and for all and anyone who has watched and listened. Wishing everyone everything that they would wish themselves at this time. A happy and healthy 2021. Stay safe.
Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you.
Well, it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. And I know it's gonna be a hard fight, but I will stay right here. I will shine a light in the darkest hour. I will face the man in the tallest tower. Well, it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous climb, but I will follow your lead. And I know it's gonna be a long time till the last one of us is freed. But I will hold on tight, stay by your side. I will be with you for this whole damn ride. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous climb, but I will follow your lead. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. I will walk, I will climb, shine my light the whole night through. Because it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it
We're